During the Genesis era, Sega was always looking for games they could one-up Nintendo with. Sonic was born out of a desire to make a more edgy, relatable platformer for a slightly older demographic. But that's just one example. You can see the tendency throughout the Genesis lineup, and one of the games Sega believed they needed to compete with was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! So, we got Buster Douglas Knockout Boxing. Now, unless you're intimately familiar with boxing history, your first question about this game is probably, who the hell is Buster Douglas, and why is his name on this boxing game? James Buster Douglas is the man who unexpectedly knocked out Mike Tyson in 1990, winning the heavyweight title in a huge upset, the perfect mascot for Sega's campaign of one-upmanship, and fitting right in with their image of themselves as the scrappy underdog versus Nintendo's Tyson. And lucky for them, they had a game ready-made for such an occasion, the Japanese arcade title Final Blow. All they need to do is insert Douglas into the game and they were golden, right? Not really. You see, in order for that plan to work, the game would have needed to be something good to begin with. The problem is that Final Blow was the quintessential arcade game. It's fun to punch the other guy for a few minutes, so it looks great in a demo, but it very quickly stops being interesting to do so in a home setting. Without the artificial pressure created by the need to plug more quarters into the machine, the tension is gone and the game doesn't have much of a point. In a perfect world, developers would not port these arcade games, or they would maybe fix the mechanics in such a way that made them interesting again, but that doesn't always happen, and it didn't happen here. The game doesn't offer variety or that much of a difficulty curve, and its inability to stand up gameplay-wise, even to a game that had come before it in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, is pretty damning. A prime example of a game that chose style over substance. Perhaps even more damning is the fact that Punch-Out! Is also based on an arcade game, except that arcade game actually had mechanical substance. In a somewhat fitting turn of events given the game's quality, the real-world Buster Douglas didn't fare that much better, losing his first title defense handily after failing to make any real preparations in a massive display of arrogance. An event that made Sega's marketing campaign swirling around this game, and in fact their entire Genesis Does What Nintendo Don't campaign that featured Douglas quite prominently, suddenly nowhere near as appealing as they once were. So, this game makes a fascinating cultural artifact, a wonderful story to tell, but its gameplay is nowhere near as intriguing. Better boxing games came both before and after this one, and they had heart and worthwhile mechanics, things that this button-mashy and almost laughably transparent attention grab didn't have in its original Japanese arcade version, and surely doesn't have in its rushed American console port. Every Monday, I look at a game that's at least 10 years old, what I would consider to be retro, and I see if it's held up today, if it's still worth playing now. If you like that idea, be sure to subscribe so you can see the latest videos. If you like this video in particular, be sure to hit that like button, and thanks for watching.